Hello? Hey guys, it's Shiftcore. I made a video recently about me and my buddy two-manning the secret boss in Nomergon, Engineer Omegaplugg, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more of a detailed explanation as to what we were doing. So when we went in there, we were a Prot Paladin and a Resto Shaman. In order to make this successful, the Prot Paladin had to run two very specific talents. The first one is Last Defender. This is a great talent for damage mitigation, but it DRs pretty hard, so you guys can see right here that it takes about 150-ish mobs to be able to get the full damage reduction that you can possibly get from this talent because of the way it DRs. The second talent that he ran was Crusader's Judgment. And all this did was, because of the fact that we pulled the entire instance, so many mobs were attacking him that he was just getting Judgment procs every GCD. So he was judging pretty much on cooldown the entire time. The only other things that he had to help him run through this was he did have his 4-piece, which gives his ability for Shield of the Righteous to proc free Light of Protectors. That's how he was keeping himself alive, was he was healing himself through Light of the Protector. He did also run the legendary helmet that gives him the extra charge, but we talked about it afterwards, and he really didn't need to do that. That was more just to smooth everything out to make sure that everything went as easily as possible. So the reason I was there as a Resto Shaman, unfortunately, I pretty much did nothing until Phase 2, when the boss hit 50% life. So once he hit 50% life, that's when he's going to cast the auto full heal, and unfortunately the Paladin doesn't have enough interrupts to be able to solo this ability. He does have Avenger's Shield that he could have used, but you really can't AoE because you'll kill all of the mobs in the area, and that'll get rid of all of the damage reduction that you're getting from Last Defender. So he pretty much was only able to use the three abilities, Judgment, Light of the Protector, and keeping his active mitigation up. Outside of that, he didn't do any other abilities. So once the boss hit 50%, he and I just alternated who did kicks, and the other reason that I was there as Resto Shaman is because of the debuff Static. This debuff can 1 to 2 shot people, so I was there to dispel it off of myself. It seems to do flat damage. It's one of those abilities that inflicts massive damage. With the Last Defender talent, he was able to mitigate it, so I never needed to dispel him, but any other class would die to a couple shots of it. Maybe there might be some potential to have another class in there, but I'm pretty sure none of the other healing classes have their interrupts anymore, and if they do, it's on far too long of a cooldown for them to juggle it properly with the Paladin. So realistically, the only way you can get this done is with a Resto Shaman and with a Prot Paladin. But other than that, the other big thing that was a factor was the Electro Jolt effect that he did. This was the main attack that the boss did, and it comes in like 4 different flavors. There was a line that had a huge amount of range, and we ignored that by having him face the boss away from me. He had a frontal cone attack that also had a huge range. Again, same thing, face the boss away, didn't happen. So the only thing that I really had to deal with other than dodging missiles was just avoiding the AoE attack that he had. But thankfully the AoE only had a 30-yard range, so I was able to range it pretty easily while still being able to interrupt. Just a couple other things to keep in mind if you guys are trying this yourself and you're having a more difficult time with it. If you aggro all the mobs in the instance, there are 2 mobs that are problematic to running this. They are both robot creatures, I don't remember their names, but one of them is a creature that if it's successfully able to hit the Paladin, it'll pacify him, which the first couple of attempts, he ended up getting locked out and he missed his kick because of it. So we just killed those off real quick. Another mob that we ran into issues with was a mob that would put a buff on the boss, and it just made the boss have a 100% chance to reflect spells, which unfortunately reflected my wind shear, so that I missed my kick and he healed back to full. We tried a couple of attempts with this by running through, and I just purged the buff off of him before I would do my kick, and that seemed to work pretty decently. The only problem I ran into was that I ended up running out of mana by around the time that the boss was hitting 30%. Now mind you, I was spamming the ability for most of the time, so if I was more cautious with it, I probably could have been, you know, more fine with doing that. But that is an option if your paladin is a little bit more undergeared and you need the extra mob count for the damage reduction. But that's just something you gotta be mindful of, is that you will be having to use Purge. As long as all you're doing is purging and dispelling yourself only, you should never actually pull aggro off of the paladin, and if you screw up and you take a hit, like you'll see that at some point I got hit by a bomb because I knew that I could survive one of them, and the paladin ended up healing me. So unfortunately, Light of the Protector doesn't really generate threat, so we did a couple of attempts where I would pop a mana potion and still pull aggro with just the mana potion. So that wasn't really an option. So what I ended up doing is I ended up running some trinkets and some older gear that just reduced the mana cost of all of my spells, because I wasn't actually doing anything other than interrupting and dispelling for this. But I hope that this video was helpful to you guys. I hope you guys get your kill. Like this video if you like it, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you like my channel. Talk to you later. Bye.